So let's go over this whole SaaS thing. So the reason why I wanted to put together a presentation is to really help you guys and equip you with a bit more context and information of this whole SaaS opportunity. What does this even really mean? I know a lot of you, I think we had several hundreds of you that jumped into the Level Up Day. Sean, Robin, I don't know if any one of you guys are in here. Feel free to jump in anytime you want to. But I want to kind of unpack that day. Since Level Up Day, what does that mean for an agency, right? What does that even mean from high level perspective or even non-high level perspective? I want to just unpack that with you guys because I'm an agency owner myself, just like a lot of you. I get the privilege of running the high level agency as well as my own agency out of Toronto on top of that. So needless to say, I'm in your shoes, just like anybody else, even though I'm part of the high level leadership team. I've been in this industry for about 5, 6 years. I started off in the dental space, actually. Some of you may know me from then. And then after that, I partnered up with Rob and Alex, came over to the high level agency, and rest is history, right? And recently, within the last couple of months, I started a brand new agency out of Toronto, which is essentially less than 5 clients, brand new startup, just like anybody else, right? So, what does that all mean? Um, how do we create a SaaS offering that is highly profitable with the least amount of high level features? So, just so you guys have some context, I am not your technical genius. I, matter of fact, don't even like technology that much. And that's probably why I'm even here in the high level leadership team because I give a different perspective than somebody who can go through the system and actually build out whatever they want to build out. I don't want to build anything out. I just want to focus on the sales side of things, be able to close deals, move on to the next thing. How many of you can relate to that? If you can relate to that, give me one in the chat, right? Um, and that's where my strengths are. Chad, let's see. Chad raised his hand. Chad, if you want to put something down on the chat, feel free to do so. I'm not going to go through raised hands just yet. I'm going to go through the presentation first, and then we're going to have a Q&A type of interaction. If there is something you need to alert me for, feel free to do that. So couple of the challenges that you're going to face as a SaaS agency, right? So number one thing is this. What are the best ways to market this thing, right? Like you've got a toolbox, right? Some of you have a hammer, you've got a spatula of some kind, you've got, a bunch of wires, you got all these different things. But if we look at from the perspective of Home Depot, right? How many of you guys go to Home Depot? Let's look at high level as Home Depot, right? You've got a ton of different tools, ton of different combination of tools. How do we make sure this message goes out to the niche and you're prospecting the right way? First things first, I want you to look at this opportunity the right way. If you cannot look at this opportunity the right way, it's really hard to formulate the right packages. And that's what I want to achieve today and really give you guys an idea of why is this even important. So some of the biggest challenges when it comes to the SaaS component is the best ways to market. Marketing in sales is essentially the hardest thing on SaaS, okay? Then the tech stack. The tech stack has to essentially match the proper industry and the right offers, right? If you don't have the right offer combinations and the wrong message, then you're not going to win either way. Then the pricing. How low do I go when it comes to pricing, or how high do I go? And I don't want to be, greedy, but at the same time, I want to be competitive, right? I don't want to shoot myself in the foot and go too far below on how I'm pricing myself. Then the next component that I want to talk about is product differentiation. If everybody has the same tools, essentially what's happening, right? Everybody's got the same tools. How do we differentiate ourselves? And I want to share some of those ideas with you guys as well. Now, let's talk about where the marketing industry is today and its current atmosphere, right? So the three things that always stick out to me when it comes to the agency game, guys, it's port of entry. I don't know about you guys, but you're all at the mercy of somebody watching a $50 course throwing up an LLC, and voila, you've got another agency to compete with, whether that's a freelancer or not, right? Whether that's somebody that's established or not. It's really easy to jump into the marketing industry, like the marketing space. You can do lead generation, you can do creative branding, all these different things. But at the end of the day, it doesn't require a huge degree. It doesn't require certifications. It doesn't require any, sort of licensing or even expertise. You can even actually have most of these expertise outsourced and still call yourself an agency. So port of entry is really low. I mean, anybody can just jump in. Then the other issue with today's industry is it's a saturated, most of the mainstream niches are already saturated, right? Your med spas, your real estate, your automotive, your even the education space, right? Chiros, dentists, I mean, legal. Which industry is not saturated? Almost everything is saturated. So you either have to go really specific in your offering, or your messaging has to be that good, right? Or your influence of sphere has to be that good. Then the other biggest flaw when it comes to the marketing industry is we're very much labor dependent. We all have people that we're depending on. So therefore, your quality of service is going to be dependent on the strength of your team. So that's a big flaw when I look at a business model, right? So needless to say, this is the current condition, right? Almost everybody can jump in as an ad agency. Most of the industries and niches are saturated. On top of that, your quality of service is going to depend on other people. Let's say let's say you're a top guy like Gavin here and his brother, right? Let's say you get really good at Facebook ads or whatever it is that you want to do. After a while, guess what? You've got to now bring in a team member that's going to take all those things over so you can focus on sales, or have a sales guy come in and have him take over sales, and you're still dependent on yourselves to provide top quality labor. So it's two people dependent for it to be a really reliable business model long term, right? So I know you guys have heard the term churn. Why is churn even important to a business? Let's talk about some of the fundamental basics of why we even consider SaaS being an option, right? Um, there's two things that stand out to me when it comes to churn. If let's say I am a bank, let's say I'm JP Morgan or Bank of America or whoever, and I'm looking at purchasing a business. The two things that I'm going to look at is, well, first things first, how much are their assets valued at, right? And how do I value those assets? The second thing is, how quickly can I scale this business without depending on the operators of the business? Okay. So this is why single owned businesses don't, single owner owned businesses, they don't get acquired that quick, because guess what? You're dependent on that solopreneur and whatever they're going to do that day. That's how scalable your business is going to be. So churn is really important for these two reasons. One, your ability to scale at speed. Second, what is your business worth? If I came into your agency, I really cannot buy your book of business, because that book of business is temporary, right? We already know that a client can cancel, they can change their services, they can go to another agency. So what is that value? The only thing I have valued at as a standard agency are going to be your processes, your SOPs, your rule books, your IP that you developed for marketing. Not that it's not any different than anybody else's, right? But these are the only things that I can look at and say, okay, you know what? An ad agency is worth buying, right? So what contributes to this high churn? Obviously, performance variability, like I just mentioned, right? You're dependent on people. Number two is something that people really don't have a handle on, which is the market shifting, right? How many of you guys have seen those ads where you're essentially competing with somebody who's selling appointments, right? You're essentially competing with somebody who sells a close, right? They'll come in and say, hey, you know what? Instead of generating leads for you, we'll just close the deal for you, right? Or let's say with the middle of COVID, how many business owners got really comfortable with Zooms, right? Almost everybody can run a Zoom channel now or a Zoom session. And now there's a virtual side to every business. So market is continuously shifting in how they play the game when it comes to online. So all these different variabilities, right? All these different changes force you as an ad agency to be on top of things, where you have to be extremely agile and versatile in shifting with the market, right? Right. And because of that, that lack of ability to keep up with the latest and greatest, right? It creates churn on top of your standard services, right? It creates a high churn. So let's talk about that churn in today's condition, right? Unless you're, unless your sales and prospecting is very heavy, if you got like five, six, you know, channels built out, whether it's paid, organic, partnerships, whatever it is, right? Most standard agencies don't have five or six inbound channels set up. Most ad agencies do not have two or three different closers set up. Most ad agencies do not have two or three offers that they've already proven. So your standard agency, right? They're going to keep a client for about 3 to 4 months. On average, most agencies that we see, they keep about four clients active at any given time. Yes, maybe by the end of the year, you served 20, 25 clients, but what we see is about 4 to 5 clients actively in any given time, right? Now, what that means is most ad agencies have this significantly high churn rate, right? And that's been the name of the game. That's been the standard in this industry, regardless whether you do lead gen or branding or whatever it is. This has been the change. Now, you being part of high level, the cool thing is we can tell you guys where we're seeing the industry shift, right? We can tell you what to do about that shift. And that's why I think you should listen to the SaaS conversation, because there is a shift coming and we're allowing you and telling you more about it, educating you guys, and on top of that, equipping you with the right tools to be able to go out there in the market and offer something beautiful and get over this whole churn game, right? So I want to leave credit where it's due. So I don't know how many of you guys know Michael Cooch. I don't know if Michael is even on it. Michael, if you're on it, say something on the chat. Mike is a great guy. I met Mike probably, I think, out in San Diego many years ago, but he put out a presentation recently, and I want to give credit where it's due. I want to really build on what Mike said in his presentation. And he runs a company called Digital Marketing Lab. Check him out. I want to just give him a full shout out to what this is. He came from the IT world, built out a business, and then he also had an ad agency and built that out and had, seven-figure exits. So long story short, Michael is who I want to give credit to when it comes to this slide. Now, let's talk about how Mike has explained this whole thing, right? So we have three different types of business models that you want to take a look at, right? You have tools, right? Your toolbox, let's see, I've got some chat here. Let's see. Somebody said my connection keeps freezing. Nope, not me this time. I've got some really good internet as of last month. So, so let's talk about these three components, right? You have tools, right? You have SaaS, and then you have agency. I want to talk about tools and agency before I talk about SaaS. So in today's marketplace, what is the problem with going straight into and selling a tool, right? Let's say one of you guys give me an industry. Put down, I'll do some examples off of that industry. Let's see. Vijay says, okay, let's see, fitness. I'm just going to go with fitness to just make it simpler for us, okay? Let's say, I mean, if you look at the fitness industry, right, there's thousands and thousands of tools. It already exists, right? And what you're going to do is compete with all those tool providers. Most of those tool providers have millions of dollars worth of assets, and they're pounding sales and marketing all day long showcasing this one tool, right? And that's what corporate America does today. Everybody is selling some sort of tool of some kind, right? So as a ad agency, it's really disadvantageous to go right ahead and compete with that kind of, one, deep pockets. The other is just the effectiveness of how you're positioning your business. It doesn't come off as if you're just another tool in the toolkit, right? It doesn't give you a competitive advantage, and that's the tool problem. So the toolkit is like, buy email marketer for, or some sort of a tool for $100 a month. It's got low churn, but it's extremely competitive. I do not want you to go out there with the SaaS offering and go out there and sell it as, hey, I've got a two-way text thing, can we fix it? Oh, hey, I've got a reviews management tool, it's great for your business, can I set this up for you for $100? You will not win like that in the long run, I promise you. Now let's talk about your agency model, right? The problem with the agency model is you are one-sided in being the marketing provider, right? And that also is highly competitive and highly saturated. Today, let's say, if going back to the fitness thing, if a fitness person comes to me and he wants to cancel my account, right? He wants to cancel me as a service, as an agency, right? He's not going to think twice about which tools I used. Is he? He's not. He's just going to simply cancel my $1,500 retainer. Oh, yeah, Paulson, he used, I don't know, some sort of email marketer, SMS thing, reviews thing, tracker. He's not going to cancel me based on the tools that I used. He's going to cancel me based on the expertise I brought to the table, right? And that's the opposite extreme of a problem compared to the tools, right? Right in the middle, there's an opportunity, which is the SaaS provider. What exactly is a SaaS provider? So let's also talk about the churn in the tools industry, right? You're going to see a significantly low churn, meaning once they buy and they like the tool, they're going to stick with it. Whether they use it all the time, whether they log into it all the time, it doesn't matter. They see a value, therefore they're buying it, and that's another reason. Um, that's another reason why they don't cancel, because typically these tools are sold at like $50, $100. They're not really seeing like a huge, hit on their bottom line or top line. It's just another item in the box. Agency is highly competitive, high ticket, right? It's retainer oriented, right? It's just not attractive anymore like it used to be. Now, what do you do as a SaaS provider? SaaS provider. So let's talk about the IT industry, okay? And I want to be really clear about something. You don't have to reinvent the wheel as an agency when it comes to SaaS, okay? That's a disclaimer I want to make, and I want to elaborate on that as we go. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. What you want to do is add this on as a service or an approach to your business. And here's how you can do it. Let's say a guy from the fitness industry comes to me and he goes, "Hey, Paulson, I want to figure out this whole marketing stuff." My first thing is first, at a foundational level, which way am I going to lead in? In today's, if I'm already an ad agency and I've got, let's say, 50 clients, I don't want to go in and lead with SaaS, because guess what? I have already led with marketing services, right? I'm already providing Facebook ads, Google ads, SEO, website. In the long run, yes, absolutely. I do want to lead with the SaaS offer. But right now, in the current transitional period, what I'm going to do is this. My line item is going to say, hey, $1,500 for Facebook ads. And my second line item is going to say software packages, right? It's going to be its own entity. And why do I want to separate this out? I'll explain. Now, first things first, before we even go down on how to package this whole thing up, let's talk about the difference between a SaaS provider versus an ad agency, right? How many of you guys are familiar with the IT industry, right? These guys are some of the more smartest people on earth that built this business model out a very long time ago, right? And what is it, right? You go in as an IT provider, and by the way, I'm not a technology guy. I'm probably going to butcher all the little pieces of their line items of what they normally do. But I've got friends in the IT space. They'll set up a cloud of some kind, right? They'll buy 10 laptops and set up all those laptops for those team members, right? They'll set up firewalls. They'll set up cybersecurity things. They'll set up infrastructures on whatever it is that they need, whether it's, transactional or whatever it is. They'll set up something where upfront there's a lot of, you know, um, what's the word? There's a lot of fulfillment involvement, right? Upfront in the beginning of that relationship, they're doing a lot of different things to set it up. But after a while, guess what? You're just a product driven provider. You're not going in and operating my business for me. And I want you to look at that model and think of it from the marketing perspective. So let's talk about it. The SaaS providers, they're technology driven, right? They're almost like a managed service provider, right? If you know that term in the IT industry, what I want you to do is be a managed service provider with marketing as your specialty, right? That's literally the play here. Now, you're product driven as a whole, and guess what? One of the more beautiful things about being a SaaS provider when it comes to marketing is you're not platform dependent. It doesn't matter what Facebook or Google or Instagram or Snapchat. How many of you guys get your ad account shut down the last 2 months, right? How many business managers went down, right? You don't have to worry about any of that anymore, right? You can literally come in, set up a system for marketing that is self-managed or client managed essentially, right? And you're out of there, right? How cool would it be if you just delivered the first month or so of services essentially that's marketing oriented, and after that you're taking yourself off of there because you've got to go back to being that technology provider in the formula, not a marketing agency, right? You've got to consider yourself to be a technology provider moving forward. Now, the standard ad agency model is advertising driven, or in other words, expertise driven, right? You're good as how good your Facebook ads are. You're good as how your Snapchat ads are. You're good as your SEO. You're good at your branding. And it's all dependent on that. So if another competitor comes in and offers the same thing, guess what? you're you're now competing with a bigger player, right? You're now competing with an industry with way too many providers, right? And then agency model is service oriented. What does that mean? The most beautiful thing about the SaaS model to me, guys, it's the profitability, right? If you have ever built an ad agency, it's extremely labor driven, right? Especially at scale, right? We love our team on the high level agency. We've got 42 people there full time, right? There's no way it's easy to manage that volume without that many people helping us, right? Without that big of a team. Even if you did it at a smaller scale, let's say you're catering to maybe 20 clients, right? You still need a 2, 3 man team, right? The cool thing about the SaaS idea is that one, your onboarding could be very simple based on the industry, and you set it up front the first month or so, you iron out the kinks, and then after that, you're done. There's no ongoing fulfillment, right? Therefore, you don't have the need to build out this massive team. So your margins are significantly higher with SaaS. Even though they're low ticket, it makes, you can probably keep almost 70% of what SaaS comes with it versus 40% of what an agency model is, right? Because your cost is, as you get bigger, your cost gets 50%, 60%, or even 70%, especially if you're a full stack provider, right? So that's the biggest difference here in being a SaaS versus ad agency. SaaS is technology driven. Agency model is expertise driven. It's two different mindsets, okay? Let's see. I'm getting all these chat messages coming in, guys. I'm going to go through all of it after I'm done, okay? So, again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? You don't. You can continue your existing services today. Remember, you have that 70 to 80% churn rate, right? Standard to anybody else, right? We're all on the same boat, including the high level agency, right? We're not any special when it comes to the market. They're going to dictate how this goes. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You continue your existing services, okay? Now you want to add on a productized option in the formula. So in today's world, there was the standard way of adding a productized option was either coaching to the industry, right? Or some sort of a course to the industry, or some sort of consulting that was, if you thought you can scale consulting, right? Some sort of an offer outside of the normal services, right? This is how currently agencies are padding on a productized option. You don't have to do that anymore, right? You can literally come in and say, you know what? I want to create a tech stack that works for my niche, and I'm going to build that in as a separate line item. I'm going to sell it, downsell, and upsell it however I think is best. And what it's going to do is going to lower churn over time, thus boosting your business evaluation, right? If I were to come in and going back to the concept of acquisitions, right? If I were to come in and buy Gavin's agency today, I'm going to first look at how many people was he able to keep, right? If I see that Gavin's not keeping a lot of people, he doesn't really have a business, because guess what? The standard rat race of an agency is new hunt, new hunt, new hunt, new hunt, right? And then they keep clients, they upsell to a course, downsell to a consulting, or upsell, whatever, right? Mixing, matching my words. But the whole idea is creating some sort of stickiness for you to have a long-term play. And most agencies, even with a course, even with a consulting approach, you're still not able to keep clients for more than 6 months. And that's the standard. That's the industry standard. It's not our agency's fault. It's not the industry's fault. It's just too much saturation when it comes to marketing expertise, right? So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Now, I want to talk about how this changes, right? This is what your line item would look like, right? Let's say you're invoicing a client. This is what the new invoicing would look like, right? You want to consider, here's an interesting play, okay? You want to consider selling your software tech stack as its own entity, right? If you separate it out, guess what? You separate it out inclusive of your package. So if I were to go, let's say I name myself, oh yeah, the patient rush package, right? If I were to just go in and sell patient rush package and my tech stack is hidden in there, my client will never know that there is another item in there that they could have just kept. They're looking at it as all in one, and they fire you all in one or hire you all in one, right? So this allows you to have a second conversation during the exit or when you come on board, right? When you bring the clients on board, you're going to say, you know, item one, you need a new website? Great. I'm going to charge you $1,000 one time, right? Item number two, you want me to run Facebook ads? Great. It'll be $1,500 a month. That's my managed service fee, right? Item number three is your SaaS package, right? And the reason why you want to set this separately is because you don't want to be the toolbox guy of just tools alone and not have anything else, or the agency guy who's just focused on marketing services and don't have a proper downsell or upsell, right? And that's what I want to share with you guys, the opportunity that's at stake. Now, how can you become a good SaaS provider with your niched offers, right? One, what makes high level different than any other platform today is, yes, I get it. It's a bit buggy. We've got issues. It's new. The support channel is crazy. I get it. I'm not a tech guy. I see all these tickets coming in. But guess what? It's got flexibility. It gives you the ability to customize however you want. I promise you, most of the issues that we see is how somebody customized it. It's typically not even the software that's the problem. It's the way something was set up, right? So going back to your SaaS, being a SaaS provider, you want to put together and formulate the right combination that makes sense for your niche, right? We have technology here, right? You have the small business owners, right? Whoever can formulate the prescription the right way is going to win, right? They already know email marketing exists. Most of these small business owners already know reputation management as its own tool exists, right? But they don't have anybody that can come in and put all the stuff together, right? Can a small business owner, let's look at IT, right? Can a small business owner go buy a server? Yes, they can. It doesn't even cost that much anymore, right? Can they go buy a bunch of laptops to set up their business? Yes, they can. Can they go buy, operating systems? Yes, they can. Why in the world do they hire IT people? Why in the world, in today's world, why would somebody hire a marketing agency, a standard marketing agency? Those days are slowly going away. We're going to all position ourselves as the technology expert of marketing. That's literally what's going to happen in this industry. Okay. And the way you can get ahead of that, one, you being part of the high level family allows you to understand high level technology, as it's the only platform so far out there that gives you this many ranges of tools. So you can combine your tool stack all in one place, even if you just went with one or two. You can your combinations could be so versatile, right? And that's what I want you to look at when it comes to high level. Now, let's talk about building out the package. Let's talk about building out the package. Now, one thing I recommend is isolating your target, right? This model is very difficult if you're going to be a traditional agency. It's really hard. It already is hard as is without even as is alone, like just you selling a managed system alone is hard enough. But if you go in as the dental SaaS provider, right, you're starting to become the niche specialist, right? If you go in as the fitness SaaS provider, you're putting yourself in a different bracket versus the standard technology provider, right? And that's something that I think will change the way you guys do business, is you becoming the specialist. You have to position yourself as the industry specialist that understands marketing technology. That's the way you have to look at it. There's no other way, because if you go the opposite route of being the marketing expert, all of a sudden you're a standard ad agency, right? If you go the other way of just being the tools guy, you're like an IT guy, right? You're like an IT guy that doesn't know marketing, right? So there's a line in between there where you can be the niched SaaS provider, or in my world, I call it the specialist, like the niche specialist that understands marketing technology, right? So in my opinion, today there's three pillars that you can base this whole thing off of. High level as is. Let's not even talk about high level pro. Let's not even talk about the upcoming, pieces and all this. And by the way, all somebody had asked me how far we are. We're about a month away. By end of December, we should have a good amount of these things built out. Okay. So we're not too far away. Right after holidays, you should be able to go into prospecting on this mode. Now, there's three pillars that I personally like. And this is something that I want to share with you guys. When it comes to looking at high level as a tech stack, the three combinations that I think you cannot ignore is retention marketing, obviously. Hey, business owner, do you have a database of any kind? Can we reactivate those leads, right? It's your standard DBR, right? Then you obviously have reputation management. Hey, can we make sure that you're responding the right way? Can we make sure that you're keeping your eyes on what's happening around your business? And then also, I want to talk about inbound lead management. A lot of you think that you can only reactivate an old database. Some of you forget there is a web chat feature, there's funnels and websites and all these things that you can build out for a client, right? And it keeps the organic traffic running. They can go get free leads versus having to generate paid leads, right? So let's look at it this way. What does my package actually look like? I just want to just give this to you guys and say, this is what you should go sell based on all these things that I shared today. I want to be very minimalistic on this, right? That's me personally. I kind of don't like the all-in-one package, right? Because one, if I go all in one, I've got to now support all in one. If my onboarding gets a bit more heavier, right? My initial setup time is going to go a little longer. I want to come in and just say, hey, business owner, I want to be able to control your existing conversations all in one place. You have the two-way text and all of that, right? You have the conversation section, and then you have the reviews, right? Hey, here's where we can keep track of what other people are saying about your business. And then when it comes to new inbound lead, I would simply set up a web chat on their existing website or funnel of some kind, right? Let's say they don't have a website or a funnel. Pre-build it for that web chat feature because it's that important. Okay. So when it comes to your tech stack, your initial lift is going to be a bit heavy, right? It's going to be your conversations, your reviews, web chat, right? And that's the minimalistic approach. All in one, if you know high level well enough and you're comfortable with it, go ahead. You can do conversations, reviews, web chat, a service funnel of some kind, meaning if I'm going to talk to a dentist and I'm doing all in one or implant type of marketing, I'm going to set up an implant funnel for them and say, hey, here's how we can capture all your implant leads organically without having to pay for it, right? And then you can do calendar. You can also do transactions, right? You have the Stripe availability. You can create products out and let them manage those transactions in there as well. And some of the agencies are selling this for thousands of dollars. This all-in-one that I'm talking about, I have a 500 plus in there just because I know that's the bare minimum that most agencies would sell it. I know at least two or three agencies that sell this for $2,000-3,000 a month. Okay. So this is what my two options of stack would look like, right? I come in as the expert and say, hey, what are the types of conversations that I think you would be having, right? That's what I'm going to focus on. As a technology provider, as a SaaS provider, I'm going to come in and say, oh, great, Mr. Dentist, you've got, whitening, you've got Invisalign, you've got implants, but what are those conversations? So I'm going to sell them on a $300 plan. My onboarding is going to be set up either on a Zoom or my account manager. And guess what I'm going to do the first month? I'm going to sit with them and iron out all those messages, right? I'm going to templatize and build out those marketing campaigns with them and say, hey, for the Invisalign lead, these are the messages, right? For the whitening leads, these are the messages, right? For the implants, these are the messages. Or let's talk about real estate, right? If you have buyer leads, these are the messages. If you have seller leads, these are the messages. That is where your marketing expertise comes in, right? That the quality of that service that I just spoke about is how you differentiate yourself in the marketplace today, right? The other option is for that business owner to just go straight to the tool provider and just buy the tools, right? And that's why tools by itself will never work because those small business owners are not marketing experts. So essentially, there is a bigger need for folks like us who are marketing experts to take technology and leverage it, complementing that business operation, right? You guys following me so far? Is this good or what? Like you guys, like,
Hell yeah,
yes.
it's great.
Okay, awesome. I see a ton of messages. I'm going to go through all of it. I just want to at least lay out the concepts for you in how to look at SaaS. Okay. Now, when can you actually establish a SaaS offer that sticks? It's in the beginning or the end of the relationship, right? Let's say Micah comes in. Micah Schmidt, how's it going, buddy? Let's say Micah comes in as a client and he tells me, hey, you know what, Paulson? I want you to run Facebook ads and Google ads and let me know if you need anything. Cool. So instead of me charging 1,500 directly to Micah, What I'm going to now charge is 13. If I want my price points to be 300, I'm going to charge Micah $1,200 for my Facebook ads and create a separate line item that says software packages or SaaS, right? Or you can name it whatever you want, right? Maybe some of you that have white labeled your CRM, call it Micah CRM, right? In our patient rush world, we call it the patient rush system, right? You want to keep the system, you got to pay for the system, right? And that's what Mike Cooch talks about is system sellers, right? And that's a huge component that we got to take away from the IT industry is exactly that. How do we become system sellers with marketing expertise, right? So in the beginning, I'm going to line item that separately and it's going to say, guess what, Micah, even if I just want you to know, even if the services may not work out for any reason at all, we will help you keep your marketing under control. You can essentially keep the system even if we go a different direction on the services. So you have your agency services, you've got your SaaS packages, and then you have your tools kit, right? This sets up the stage for your churn to be leveled, right? At the end of the day, would you rather keep $300 versus lose $1,500? Right? If you have a book of, imagine your agency and you never lost a client. Imagine your agency. Where would your agency be if you never lost a client? Right? Even the smallest agency now looks like a bigger business because guess what? Your churn is getting leveled, right? Your churn is getting leveled, right? And at the end of the day, the bottom line rises slowly but surely over like a year worth of time. If you kept if you kept 20 clients at 300, what are your numbers? Right? You're running a decent sized business just like that, right? How much fulfillment do you have to put towards that? Not much. Your margins are crazy high, right? Your cost probably for that 300 is around 70 to $80. It sounds so ridiculous at a smaller number, but when you do this at volume, it matters quite a bit. Okay. Now, that's the onboarding upsell, right? Let's say the client says, hey, I want to cancel. I want to go in a different direction because I had a guy who was part of the ManyChat family and he sold me on this ManyChat thing and I don't need Facebook ads anymore. I don't need Google anymore. I don't need SEO anymore. So some of you that don't even do lead generation, right? Some of you that are in the branding world, some of you that do SEO, SaaS is even more critical to you because you don't even generate normal leads. You're now able to come in and capture organic leads or existing leads or reactivate old leads, right? You're able to centralize all of that in one place and come in and create a low ticket item. So, right, when you think of the value ladder, right? When you think of the value ladder, you're essentially taking somebody from the top of the ladder, instead of letting them just jump off and not have anything to do with you anymore, you're letting them go back to the previous step. You're letting them go back to another previous step where their gateway was and saying, you know what? We can still do business together. And guess what? Their entire system is already set up. There's no ongoing management, right? And it's a really cool model that way. So let's see, your messages changes, right? Your SMBs or your small business owners, right? Instead of you saying, hey, do you want to buy Facebook ads so I can generate new leads for you? You can essentially come in with the angle of, hey, how can we help you manage all your leads at no cost? There's no ad spend here either. Don't forget that. They don't have to go find new business. They're just literally taking existing businesses and re-centralizing it with your expertise, right? Instead of saying, can I generate you 50 leads this upcoming month? Your conversations could be, can I show you how you can self-manage all your business aspects in one place, right? And I only talked about these stacks. I didn't even talk about agency reporting. I didn't talk about anything else. I didn't talk about email builder. I didn't talk about high level pro. I didn't talk about Eliza. I didn't talk about any of these more complex options with high level, right? I'm keeping this very basic and giving you guys an idea of how to really look at SaaS. So at the end of the day, when we go back to Mike Cooch's slides here, right? This matters quite a bit. This is how you have to look at it, right? You have tools, you can be a SaaS provider right in between, and you have agency, right? The most interesting thing about the SaaS provider model is that you reduce your churn from like 70% down to 10%, which is ridiculously low, right? Right? Then you have the tools, which is even better. But the agency model and the tool model is just too competitive. We don't have a chance at it, to be honest, because most of these tool providers have heavy budgets. You're competing with like, 50 to 100 team member sales teams, right? You're competing with mega channels. You're looking at, Super Bowl ads competing against you. That's literally how I look at it, right? So you being a marketing expert, you being a technology expert, now ability to kind of create a hybrid model in between and go with high level being your operating system and say, you know what, Gavin, the industry that I'm a specialist at, this is the prescription as a doctor I'm going to write for this niche. This is the marketing technology prescription I'm going to write. Me personally, I think even at a minimal level, this stands. I think you guys can sell two-way text messages, just reviews, and the web chat by itself at $300 a month. In the beginning of that relationship, you can jump in and say, hey, business owner, can we set up a 1 hour conversation? I just want to sit with you, review these messages with you one time based on the services you provide. Here's the marketing language. Here's the psychology around marketing. And your tools are all in one place. You don't have to enroll into, 15 different tools, zap it all together, glue it all together, and then maintain all these things, keep all these subscriptions and all the stuff. The high level allows you to put it all in one place, right? And that's the minimalistic prescription in my opinion, right? The reason why I don't like this 500 thing is, I still say don't change your business model too drastically, right? Keep your existing services rolling. I don't think you should completely change your existing services. Continue those, right? But slowly transition these options into your clients. They will see, okay, you know what? I don't need to cancel everything. I have this whole thing already set up. It's already systematized. Maybe even create, some sort of a 1 hour training or something that allows them to just self-manage, right? So that's my soapbox, guys. Let me see. Let me unmute all of you and let's have a conversation. Hopefully, this was super insightful. Let's see. Mute everybody. Unmute everybody. Let's see. Ask all to unmute. Okay, perfect. So, takeaways. Let me go through the chat as well. What are some questions that you guys may have? Let's go over those. Let's see. I've got hundreds of messages on this chat. Let me see if I can go through a couple of questions. Was this insightful? Was this helpful? Does this give you a better breakdown of how to look at SaaS?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely joined late, Paulson, but yeah, this was epic. Like I know about the SaaS offering, and I cannot wait to start implementing this into 2021.
Yeah. Well, what was your biggest takeaway? Was that John? Was that you, John?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So what was your biggest takeaway on it? Like, let's unpack it. I don't see this as a formal thing, guys. Let's interact.
Yeah, just keeping it simple, really, and yeah, not doing the traditional like agency retention model. Like I know we have to differentiate, eating ads and based and all that. That's going to find what work, but you'll burn yourself out. And to scale up, yeah, you need like a profitable and digestible kind of SaaS offering, and this is definitely one of the good model approaches.
Yeah, and in reality, here's the truth. Your SaaS offering, right? And somebody else's SaaS offering at the technology level, it's not going to be drastically different, right? It's not going to be drastically different. Everybody's going to have essentially access to, you know, similar combinations or similar variabilities of combinations. Like we're not going to be all drastically different from a technology perspective. What is going to be different is how you approach your clients, your prospects, the level of expertise. It still goes back to that client knowing you, liking you, trusting you, right? And then going through what it is that you provide. Micah, you raise your hand. Go ahead, buddy. Micah Schmidt, if you got a question or want to add to it, let's talk.
Yeah, hey Paulson, thanks for your time, man.
For sure, buddy.
So I'm trying to still start, and I guess I was struggling before this training a little bit more on SaaS versus agency, so this was helpful. So if I'm thinking of let's just say I'm considering going to RV parks and offering a simple, $97 a month review management type service where they can just get the new people that come into the RV park, and once they leave, they check them in and they get a text and that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I know they need that because a lot of their GMBs look horrible or they don't even exist.
Mm-hmm.
And so it'd be cool to scale that and have, hundreds of RV parks getting that service. But is that a SaaS route or is that an agency route? And I can't, for some reason, can't distinguish if I offered that service, what would I be doing?
Yeah. So let's differentiate that. What is SaaS versus what is agency, right? SaaS is somebody who takes the technology and creates expertise around it, right? Agency is the experts just leveraging the expertise. Like I would go in, let's talk about your industry. You said RV parks, right? Micah, you
Yep.
said RV parks or something? Okay, cool. If I were to go run Facebook ads for RV parks and generate new leads, right? I'm essentially just a sales and marketing provider, right? Like I'm not any different than anybody else in the marketplace. But if I come in and say, hey, just like how you bought your computers, Mr. RV owner, just like how you bought your equipment, right? I have an equipment for you. I have a system that you can buy from me, allows you to get in front of your existing leads and keep track of them, right? Essentially, that's all we can do with high level right now is existing leads. If you set up some sort of a chat system, you can bring in new leads that are organic, right? Those are the two things that we can do. Now, if I'm an ad agency, here's why I don't want to do SaaS by itself. Okay, Micah? Here's why I don't want to do SaaS by itself. Because guess what? I know most business owners don't have good traffic in those websites. I know most business owners don't have great funnels built out. Therefore, they're going to always have a need for better traffic. They're going to always have a need for newer traffic. So, SaaS by itself is kind of a slippery slide versus you being a SaaS and a marketing provider together, right? Because guess what? If I want new leads, I can just turn on my Facebook ads for 2 months and I'm good, right? The problem with SaaS by itself is guess what? There's always a chance that business owner is going to go find an ad agency and have you pair up with that ad agency as the SaaS provider, right? I don't even want to entertain that. I rather just be like, hey, anytime you need ads, we can just turn those on. And I actually think some of the more complex ad agencies could pre-build advertising campaigns on top of high level. If I were crushing it and I'm taking on like let's say 200 clients or something on something like this, what I would do is this. I will build out Facebook ads, I would build out Google ads and just hand it over to the client. Hey, you need to turn this thing on? Turn it on. It's built in your ad account. If you ever need to use it, feel free to use it. Right? So therefore, I'm still the SaaS provider with marketing expertise. I don't want to be the only sole, I don't want to be perceived as the tool provider by itself, right? I want them to still think I'm the number one marketing resource there is, right? Does that help, Micah?
Yeah, it does. To tag on to that, so if I'm wanting to offer either reputation management for an RV park, then once I set everything up and it's month number 2 now, if they're
There's
happy with that service, then month number 2 comes by, I feel like I'm not really doing anything else with them because it's set it and forget it. Is that good or bad?
100%. It's very good. You know why? You don't have to have a team built out. So let me backtrack. It's going to be good as your first initiation, right? If I bring on, let's say, David Pratt, I just see you on my screen, buddy, big beard, right? If I bring him in, right, and I set like maybe 2-3 meetings with him, throughout those 2-3 meetings, I want to hammer David on marketing. I want to hammer him and say, you know what? I need you to tell me everything there is to know or that I should know about your business when it comes to marketing. So guess what? I can build out the messaging. I can build out the right service lines. I can build out the right follow up. And then if I hammer them very extensively in the beginning, the quicker I can jump off of him and focus on my next prospect because he's already pre-built. This is the biggest success around the IT industry. In the IT industry, Mike, they're considered managed service provider, right? When I was talking to Sean and Robin about it, they mentioned maybe we shouldn't even say those terms so it doesn't confuse anybody. But I want to share with you that's the way that industry works. Today, marketing is drastically changing. We're starting to become technology providers. We're not just the expertise providers anymore. And that's what we're seeing at high level. We're seeing the way the industry is changing. That's why we're telling our community first and saying, hey, we happen to build this cool thing with a ton of features. Maybe go back and simplify this down with like a 2-3 combination, right? Right? 2-3 combination. And then go from there. Let me see if Pablo Salguero, are you on? Let me see. Pablo, let me see if he's on. I talked to him about this maybe a couple of months ago, and he's selling reviews, just reviews management, right? At $200-300 a pop. And now he's adding on another feature to that tech stack, right? And I'm telling you, imagine what your agency would look like if you never lost a client. That's literally what it's going to shift into. I promise you, right? When Sean talked about some of those agencies that are crushing it with the SaaS model, this is exactly what he was talking about on Level Up Day. We're seeing these agencies come in with a new line item and say, hey, instead of just selling you Facebook ads or Google ads, we'll sell you high level ads. Wasn't that an interesting play? Right? And we didn't even think of it like that. We were like, oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. It's just two-way text message. Great. Call it high level ads, whatever you want. Right? Or let's say somebody like Jim Swan, he's got his own CRM, the Swan CRM, right? We'll run Swan ads. What are Swan ads? Right? You want to create a system within that system and say, you know what? You can still control marketing even if other channels don't work out. Therefore, you're raising your churn drastically lower, right? I mean, you're lowering your churn drastically, right? Let's see. Huria? Is it Huria? I'm sorry. I
Yes,
don't want
yes. You're right.
to.
So yeah, I attended the high level up day as well. So I was not clear what it is, even that. Then I'm listening to you today. So what I'm understanding, it's a customized CRM that we are offering them with our other marketing services. That if they even don't want to go with our marketing services anymore, but the customized CRM or all those things we have built up with them, they want to just keep them and want to continue with those things because now they are used to use that like we using any other CRM maybe. That's I'm saying right.
it- part of it, right? But there's another layer to it, right? Why would they keep your CRM compared to anybody else's CRM?
Because it is having all the things they need actually. Like
Because you are a marketing expert, right?
I'm
This
creating
is
all the messages, messaging and all those funnels, website according to what their services are and the language they want.
That's why we truly believe marketing agencies have a role here, right? There's a role for marketing agencies. There's a role here for marketing experts, freelancers, web developers, branders. It doesn't matter. The role is, well, I have access to all these tools as a business owner. I need somebody to put it all together, right? Previously, the way ad agencies worked is like, let's go get you new business, therefore using all these external platforms and things like that. With high level, you can come in and say, you know what, I can help you manage existing business. I can help you manage low cost. I mean, you can literally say, I can get you free leads. You could technically, right? You set up a web chat on their traffic
Yeah. Yeah.
and they're going to come ask you, well, you know what, I haven't had any leads in a while. Oh, yeah, you're probably right. When I looked at your website, there's only 84 people coming there in a matter of a quarter. I don't expect you to convert 84 people into leads. Now you can go into the standard marketing conversation and sell them on, hey, let me redo your website. Let me fix your messaging, because they still want to see you as the marketing expert, right? But you internally, you operate as, in our opinion, you should operate as a technology provider.
I get that.
Yeah.
And like we will be training them how to use those CRM services we are creating for them in that SaaS thing. They will be knowing how to operate that.
It's you knowing your avatar, right? If I'm catering this to the dental office down the street, guess what I know about the dental industry? I came from the dental industry myself. I had an ad agency in the dental space. They are high technology folks. They know enough because guess what? They've been through 10 ad agencies already with 10 different CRM systems, right? So those front desks know how to manage most of these things. But guess what? Josh Nelson, if he's on here, he'll tell you. If I went to the plumber, he's driving around all day long. He's getting a 2 hour lunch break. His wife is calling him on his phone, blowing that thing up. He doesn't have time to sit in front of the CRM. He's never going to get there, right? So, as a business person, I'm going to cater to the industries that is going to be a bit more technology friendly with this model. It's less work for me, it's less management for me. And on top of that, don't forget, some of you that have ISAs, independent, what are they called? Independent standard
Sales
or
agents.
sales agency, right? So it's
Yeah.
basically a call center, right? It's basically a call center. And let's say you take on an industry that's not technology friendly at all. You may even want to consider an ISA that's going to help manage these services. And even then, guess what? Your margin is still high. They're not seeing you as an ad agency. They're just seeing you as, oh, they're going to manage my leads while I'm not there. That's it. And if you need a provider like that on top of your automations, you probably have a pretty busy business. You can probably charge them for marketing anyway, right? So the whole idea here is to level up your churn. Today's marketing agencies, it's not highly valuable when it comes to a business evaluation because, like, the churn is so high. It's 80%. Most industries are saturated already. We all like each other. I know that. But guess what? The business owner cannot differentiate us, right? I promise you, most of you have better pitch decks than I do, right? So it's like there's no chance that a new agency can survive at speed, right? Your speed is just so hard, especially those of you brand new. If you don't have like 5, 6 channels set up, 2, 3 of them being paid ads, you don't have a chance. You don't have a chance at scaling. You're gonna do fine, right? It's better than a job, but I'm showing you ways to go beyond that. I'm showing you ways to say, you know what? You can build a book of business long term. I call this generational wealth opportunity, in my opinion, right? And I don't want to hype it up because you got to do the work. If you don't do the work and get the right people in the door, the least, technology resistant type of industries, then yeah, it's definitely an opportunity that you can't ignore. Let's see. Gavin, I think you said you
Yeah.
had a question. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what you were just talking about, super interesting with, having like 6, 7 different channels of wanting to reach out and actually like to set these appointments and then sell this. What comes to my mind when I think about that is like the cost it is to acquire a customer, right? Through paid ads, through different stuff. And I'm thinking like, I see some SaaS companies have like 1,500 even like dollar setup fee. And then, reoccurring at 300, 500, whatever it is. And the psychology behind that too is pretty powerful because it's like, if you get somebody to make that big investment, they're kind of like, oh, I already made this commitment. I don't want to stop now. Like, cause I only have to pay 300. So I'm just wondering, I know high level isn't like that. So I'm wondering like, in your opinion, what the best approach would be? Cause I could see how having that bigger fee would help pay for salespeople and also just cover some like acquisition costs.
Yeah, the problem with going too high, it's the market, right? The small business owner looks at it as an expense, right? That's why I think selling SaaS at like really, really high numbers may not serve you that well because it's like, oh, I switched over from a standard advertising retainer to a SaaS retainer. They still feel the
Yeah.
pain of like, oh, I got to still invest $2,000-$3,000, right? With a lower ticket, I think the perfect numbers are like 300 to 500 in my personal opinion, right?
Yeah.
If you get there, guess what? I hate this. I mean, how many of you guys are still here?
What do you mean?
297, right? As much as we all hate this thing and how buggy it could be, we're all still here, right? That's my point. I say that respectfully to our developer team, by the way. Varun, if you're watching, we love everything you guys are doing. But what I'm saying is people don't cancel those lower tickets that easy, right?
Yeah.
They don't just jump off. And that's why I think SaaS positioning as a separate item, much lower ticket it's easier. The agencies that are, Gavin, on your point, the agencies that are positioning it as like a bigger ticket, they're not just doing SaaS. They're merging agency on top of it, right? They're merging agency services and say, hey, you know what? We'll generate new leads on top of all the SaaS play, right? It's like a standard retainer model at 5,000 a month, right? So
Yeah.
it works for certain people, but I don't see the long-term play for smaller, new, fresher, agile agencies like yourselves. You guys are all, agile. Today, if, you go to dinner with your wife this weekend and decide to change your niche because you like the restaurant industry, you can do that today, right? Right? Like bigger agencies can't do that. So that's why I think the SaaS play matters quite a bit. Hopefully that answered your question, Gavin.
Yeah, it does. And just to follow up on that too. So you said like, I noticed earlier you alluded basically saying like, hey, this is going to work a lot better with like tech related industries. For example,
No. I didn't say that. I said the folks that can handle tech, right?
Yeah, that's what I meant. I misspoke that.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So like, for example, the niche I'm currently in is like interior modeling, right? So like kitchen bathroom models. Now that a lot of those people, contractors, they're not super used to using tech, especially the smaller ones, right? There's some bigger companies that do a bit, but is that something where you're like, okay, if you're gonna go harder in on this offer, like it's worth like pivoting niches or?
Well, no. So first thing I would look at is like, okay, who are my competitors as a SaaS provider? Who are the SaaS providers?
Yeah.
I'm asking, do you know about that industry well enough?
No, I don't.
Exactly.
I can't tell you exactly who the SaaS providers are.
I know one off my head. Service Titan is one of them, right? Right. Even I think Home Advisor has their own tool of some kind. You've got to look at your industry and figure out who are the SaaS providers, right? If I go to dentistry, for example, guys, I know dentistry in and out. So you have platforms like Local Med, you have platforms like Dental Intelligence, Open Dental, EagleSoft. You got to dig in your industry and really figure out what are they currently doing. Just like how you decided on an ad agency niche, like you really hack through and figured out what do we call it, funnel hacking, right? You funnel hacked your way through and decided what is it that you're going to provide as an agency. So as a marketing technology provider, you got to do the same thing. What are the other technologies that are in this industry, right? You cannot do a competitive analysis like you would as an ad agency. This is not a service business. This is a product business, right?
Yeah.
Right? The SaaS is a product business. In the initial first like 20-30% of your lift, you're providing consulting, you're providing marketing expertise, but once that is set up, the whole idea is you never talk to that client ever again for the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't do that, your initial setup is not clean enough, right?
Yeah.
Right? So, but once you do, right, once you have that set up, you should be able to walk away. Right? That's how these IT guys are crushing it, right? Like they just set up the computers and they're gone. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
support channel this and that, right? And then on top of that, remember, high level is coming in and now saying, hey, we could even do white label support.
Dang, I didn't even know that that was a feature yet. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
high level pro is going to be AI, where we're going to manage those conversations for you to about 60-70% on top of the visual builder, on top of white label support being added, on top of um, revenue capture. So you'll be able to rebuild Twilio and all those other expenses on
Mm-hmm.
top of invoicing those clients, right? Your clients today could essentially use high level for just revenue management, right? You can set up Stripe products, set up funnels for each product or one session. Technically, they can actually manage it already,
Yeah.
right? So it's just a matter of you being creative. So here's the thing, minimalist. Like I don't want to go in with a ton of different things and I'm gonna
Yeah.
bite off something I can't chew. Right? Like I'm not a technology guy. Neither do I want to be. Neither will I ever be. Right? It just I
Yeah.
don't even find it fun. Right? I just want to go in, do a presentation, close the deal, walk away. Let my account manager come in and decide whatever they want to do with the client. Like, hey, cool. You want to set up these conversations this way because you're seeing the way people interacting one way or another, right? That after that initial setup, you're good to go. That's the idea. That's the idea. So if you can do that, your churn slowly reduces over time.
Yeah.
Don't reinvent the wheel. You still have to, make bread, right? You still got to do your Facebook ads, your
Mm-hmm.
SEO, Google, and all these things. You're not going to be able to we don't recommend you just shifting and just completely cutting it
Yeah.
off, right? But we definitely think there is a hybrid model that's getting traction, right?
Yeah.
And
And like start to migrate it.
you're slowly
Mm-hmm.
transitioning into a healthier business model, right? And we only share this because we looked at some of the more successful high level agencies even before
Mm-hmm.
level up day, right? And we're
Yeah.
like, oh man, they're selling it as if it's like, oh hey, come buy high level ads. And we're like, oh, that's interesting. We never thought about it like that, right? What are
Yeah.
high level ads, And there's one guy who had his own CRM all white labeled, and he's selling it as Gavin's ads.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like whatever it is, right? So there's definitely a model there that can be ignored. And over time, as you build this book of business, you can essentially you're not dependent on your normal ad agency book of business anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a really interesting play. Hopefully that helps, Kevin.
Yeah, that helps a ton. Thank you so much. This
Of
presentation's been
course.
sweet.
Yeah,
Hey,
man.
Paulson.
Yeah, yeah. Let me go through the raised hands real quick.
Uh,
Alex is next, and whoever just spoke, I think was that Jamie? Was that Jamie? Okay, let me go through
I'll ask a
Alex
question.
first. Alex, then Jamie, then Rich. Go ahead, Alex. Alex Aguirre.
Yeah, I think Micah was before me. I don't know if he's got a chance to speak. I know he had raised
Okay,
his hand.
go ahead. Micah Schmidt, he already spoke.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Hey, so I had a quick question. I'm pretty new to high level. I'm really my whole I'm more tech savvy. I work in the real estate industry, but I was wondering, um, would we be selling the SaaS and the marketing service as a separate Go High Level account, or would it be a sub account under the membership? Because my whole concern is how do I create snapshots if they have their own separate accounts? I guess I'm not really too
I
familiar
would
with the.
Yeah, I would keep it simple and
Okay.
just sell sub accounts, right? The only time, in my opinion, you go sell agency accounts
Yeah.
is if you go sell it as an affiliate model, right? You're
Okay.
creating another SaaS provider, right? That's the only
Understood.
time I would actually go sell that way, because guess what? If I sell it agency to agency, now I've got to rebuild everything,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
I don't feel like rebuilding anything. I just want to close and go, right? So
Yes.
I rather just keep it on one sub account, goes through one Stripe account, and I'm all good to go. Like I don't, it just simplified for myself. So I like just selling sub account at a sub account level, right?
Fantastic.
Now guess what? There is some scenarios that I should talk about. Like if you're selling, let's say, um, to a franchise with like 5 locations, right?
Right.
It may make sense for them to just get migrated into a certain agency account. Now, that's based on the idea that they're going to expand, right?
Right.
Right. If you think they're going to expand, or let's say you go to a franchise and you're taking on the first 5 clients, I would probably build out its own agency account on its own if you do that kind of prospecting. But that's the only time I want to simplify this thing down, man.
Okay.
I like to simplify everything.
Me too.
That's the way. I cannot function any other way. Like so
Exactly.
sub
Okay.
account, okay, I can click add account, copy over the previous account, done. I'm going next.
Yep.
Right.
Perfect.
Let's see. Rich. Oh no, Jamie, go ahead, buddy. Jamie
Hey, Marcus. Hey, sorry for cutting the line there. I didn't realize that.
No, I didn't even see the line, so I'm just going
Okay.
through whoever's in front of me first.
So first off, thanks for sharing all this information. It's really eye-opening. I just wonder, I'm a little bit confused, and I run an agency with a ton of clients and offer a lot of the services that you're talking about. I'm just wondering, it sounds like you just opened your own agency, and with this kind of in mind, and you had 5 clients. Is there, I think a best example for us, or for me, would be to understand what you're offering specifically, even if you don't want to give us the exact industry, just so I can be clear on what it is, because I'm not so sure this is anything different than sort of what we're doing already, other than, I mean, we're managing it, and then if they, I kind of, and I'm not, my second question is this would be white label what you're doing. We don't. So what we do is set people up, set up a campaign for them, and then at a certain point, if they want to quit with us, we say you can quit, but you could for $100 a month, you could have high level, and just we don't help you with it. You just have an account on the site. Is that kind of a similar type of thing?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. And instead of just throwing the tool at them, right? If you throw high level at them, right, it's not going to help you as an agency. It's nice for us, great, but we want you to succeed, right? We want you to be the marketing expert, because guess what happens? At some point, they're going to come back to your managed services.
I'm selling it as it's still in my account, but what I'm saying is we don't really go after outside right now. We're going into clients that we're already pitching our services. We set them up, and in our contracts, we've been doing this for a while, is if you decide to stop with us, it's going to be $100 a month. You can keep the software. You don't have to even be involved with us. Same thing, like we have a couple of the smaller services, like the calendar service. We charge $30 a month, similar to just to kind of mimic what's out there.
So the idea is exactly that, right? But with SaaS, it's managed service providers type of feel, right? So right now, you charging $100 a month, you're treating it as if it's just a tool, right? But if you treat it as like an MSPM, right, is what we call it, managed service provider of marketing, right? That allows you to charge a bigger rate, but not too high, but much bigger rate than $100. We really think you can be around the 300 to 500 range.
And what would I be offering? I mean, why couldn't they just go get
nothing? You're not necessarily offering anything ongoing. You're essentially coming in and setting it up for them, and it's on autopilot. So you're not necessarily fulfilling any services, and that's why we think there's a play here, because there's a demand for this, right? There's a demand in almost every industry where you can come in and say, "Hey, Jamie, you're a marketing expert, right? I wasn't sure. You are, right?"
Yes.
Okay. So we have small business owners coming in as well nowadays. That's what I'm clarifying. So you going in, and let's say, what industry are you in? It says nonprofit. Is that right?
Well, we have 2 separate, but one of them, we manage a lot of nonprofit websites.
Okay. Let's talk about a nonprofit charity organization.
We have funnels. We set up funnels with them with their Google. We get them grants, and we set up funnels with Google Ad Grant. So
Right.
we use it for them.
Right. So you're doing essentially everything I would have done outside of pricing yourself properly.
Okay.
Right. When it comes to the SaaS numbers, I think you can be around the 500 monthly range.
Then I need to rebrand it. Basically, you're saying brand it under my own unique name, because otherwise they can just go look at high level and say, I can get a high level cat for 100. Why are you charging
Well, there's a lot of people that just sell it as high level. They don't even care. They sell it as, here's how I would run high level.
Okay.
Right? They're selling it as, here's my high level setup. Right. It's like saying, don't tell anybody we're running Facebook ads. They may find out it's Facebook ads. Right. Like, I think we're getting to a point where the market is really familiarizing themselves with high level and CRMs in general, not just us, even other providers, right? So what you want to do is come in and say, hey, here's my setup for XYZ. Here's why this is effective, right? Here's my conversion numbers on my funnel versus anything else. Here's why my messaging is effective here. And that's going to be your competitive advantage, is going to go back to the basics of how good you are as a marketer, right? Like your psychology side, right? Your ability to influence, your ability to write copy, your ability to sell what you do, right? And that's where the competitive advantage is going to be built. Hopefully that helps.
Well, can you just maybe talk about your services and what you're offering? Is that what you're doing with this new agency?
No, I run the high level agency, right? So I have two agencies, the high level agency that I run with Rob and Alex, and then I have a brand new agency out of Toronto. And that agency, we're just selling Facebook ads and ManyChat, right? We're not selling anything else. So as I do this, I'm implementing this for my own new agency. The other agencies that we're seeing this across the board, they run it as a separate line item. So when I go back to that presentation I showed you, right? The minimalistic stack, in my opinion, is going to be conversations, right? It's going to be built on retention marketing, reputation management, and lead management, inbound lead management. The only way you can sell all three of those pillars is by, at a minimal level, offering conversations, reviews, and web chat feature, right? So essentially, those three features, right, allow me to basically have that's the bare minimum I can get away with, right? I cannot go below that. I cannot say, I can do a fairly good impact on marketing without being able to control conversations, their reputation, or some sort of an inbound flow. If we had another system, maybe in the future, outside of just the web chat system, then it would be that thing, right? Whatever that is, right? So at the end of the day, it's inbound flow, reputation management, and also retention, going backwards to their old clients, old interactions, right? So the fundamental basics is around the same for everybody. It's how you present it, what your conversations truly are with the industry. This is going to all go back to your level of expertise in your specific industry, right? So those of you that are not niche down, this is going to be rather difficult. This is going to be tough, because when you're a traditional agency, guess what? You're talking to so many different avatars. It's tough. That you're doing websites, you're doing real estate, you're doing nonprofit, you're doing Kairos, you're doing this and that. It's going to be really hard to kind of box in your messages. But if I'm just a dental agency, guess what? I'm just focused on my implants. I'm focused on my Invisalign. I'm focused on teeth whitening and teeth cleaning and all in one. And that's about it. I only have to build systems around those services. I can go to the dentist and say, hey, I can get you free implant leads. I can get you free whitening. I can get you free cleaning. You don't even have to hire an agency anymore. So that's where the play is. Let's see. Hopefully that helps, Jamie. Let's see.
Look like it froze up.
Thank you.
Can I point one out to Jamie? I don't know. Can I think I could give you some pointers, Jamie.
Hold on one second, Aaron. Let me go through these questions real quick. Jamie,
connect with me after. I'm a website guy. That's why I can truly help you. I've got 2 huge models already running, and I could help you out.
Awesome stuff, Aaron. Thank you for that. Jamie, connect with Aaron James afterwards. Let me just make sure I answer these questions, right? Rich Hilton. Let's go through your question real quick. Rich, you there, buddy?
Yes, man. Paulson.
Yo, what's going on, man?
One thing, what's up? First off, man, thanks for like staying back and keeping your energy up through all these things on your presentation.
Oh yeah. I love what
yeah,
I
man.
do, man.
One thing that in all your presentations, there's something that you do. I got to ask you what your best NLP book or whatever it is that you're practicing. You can definitely, use some of that. But look, my question is, based on the prices you had on the screen there, the 300 a month and the 500 and
500
minimalizing
plus.
things.
Yep.
500 plus, right. So first off, for context, we sell a managed service, right?
What do you sell?
So right now I have a few coach consultants that I introduced to the platform and that are in health and fitness. And I'm essentially supporting them, supporting their clients, right? So instead of them going out and white labeling, they're basically lead genning from my SaaS, right? Okay, so that's the one part. But the part where we're really scaling is by charging a high ticket coaching to the real estate kids that want to learn real estate stuff, but have no idea how to pull a list and actually get that thing going. So they pay high ticket to join a program, and we're essentially doing it for them, at least on the first couple of passes, to generate deal conversations, not leads, but conversations where they can actually start negotiating and make something happen. Now, what's interesting about this setup is that they don't have to be introduced to the system itself. We essentially just send them notifications and say, hey, get on the phone. Either call them directly, yourself, or, I'm looking at bringing them into high level. And but here's my questions, like two parts. First off, if ClickFunnels charging $297 for unlimited funnels, why can't we just focus on this as a SaaS and sell it like that? Like, hey, here's texting plus unlimited funnels, 300 a month, and we'll support you on the back end if you have questions on how to set up your funnel. But we're not gonna like build your funnel for you, because that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. So that's cool, right? But guess what? At some point, that market gets capped off. At some point, either ourselves or you, somebody, right? We will reach out to anybody that's interested in funnels. We will have a market cap, right? Maybe 2-3 years down the line, it's gonna, like, I'm not predicting high level will become that, but it'll get to a point where it's a household name. There's nothing fancy about you knowing about high level anymore. We'll get there. But Rich, if you focus on the small business owners, which we call the SMBs, that's a huge market. That is a never-ending market versus us all just going back and forth and then, selling reseller this to another digital marketer, right? Or another funnel builder. That's such a small little pocket of experts. I promise you, the bigger market is in the SMBs, right? And you as a marketing agency, you can control which way you swing at the SMBs, because you have technology expertise now with high level that never existed before, right? This used to never be even possible, because you would have had to literally put together 30 or even 40 softwares all in one, made sure that all made sense for that industry, and then offer it at a low price, right? That's nearly impossible about a year and a half ago. Now you have the one and only operating system, which is high level, and you have flexibility across the board and decide, you know what, Rich, I'm in the real estate game. I'm gonna flip and this and that, right? And for these guys that are just focused on syndicate deals, right? They just want to syndicate all day long, right? And for those guys, you can set up something specific, and guess what? You don't have to go get 40 different softwares and put together all these things. And guess what? Even worse than that is maintaining all of that, right?
Right. Go ahead. So Paulson, the thing you alluded to earlier with how some people are setting it up in such a way that clients are just onboarded right away and they can kind of walk away. is that still a managed sort of setup? Like, are we just putting VAs in there? And
Yeah, it is. It is. Let me mute somebody here. It is managed setup, right? So
got it.
I do believe you have to
I'm
have
just
a
listening. What?
managed onboarding. Here's why. There's no other way to showcase your marketing expertise and also make sure their setup is effective, right? How do you measure these tools are effective for that business? You don't get to unless you're involved in some way, shape, or form. We truly think in the beginning stages of that relationship, the first 20%, right? Like imagine if you just, you guys close deals all the time, right? Like imagine if you bring on a client and you only talk to them once, right? We're not going to be able to get away with not talking to them at all unless you're just selling the tools, right? And high level to me cannot be sold as a tool. It's too complex. It's too much. Like I can't use it myself. Like
Right.
I just want to look at. I call Chase. Hey Chase, can you do a blast for me? That's literally me. You can ask him. I'm the least technology oriented guy. That's why I'm able to talk to you guys like this because I understand where you guys are feeling when it comes to marketing all these things. So Rich, it is managed service in the beginning, that 20%, but after that, you're off to the races,
Got
right?
it. I have one more thing to throw in here is, can we position, I did this over the summer, it was pretty successful, but we could only sustain like 8 clients at a time, where we are, as an upsell, selling the VAs or the team that will manage for them, that they can have direct communication with and feel like they own that direct response team. Do you recommend that, or should we keep it very in-house? And yeah, okay,
100%, because at that point, you're actually selling sales as a service. You're not even in marketing, right? You're
because
actually
they're
helping them
salespeople.
close deals, right?
Right. Yes.
You're
Yeah.
selling sales as a service. You're not even
Yeah.
selling software as a service or marketing as a service. Now you're coming in and saying, hey, I can help you close these deals, which is, I get it, Rich, it's friendly in the real estate game, right? But I still want to essentially put myself up as a operating system. I don't want to entertain the idea that I'm a lead generator, right? I want to play the technology provider, right? Oh,
Got it.
you need to stop ads? Cool. Who's your ad agency?
Right.
Right. That's the conversation I want to have with my client, right? And the only way you
Right.
can do that is if you can keep track of all these things and not take the lift, right? Um,
Right.
so that's why I don't. So remember when Eliza comes out, right, with the AI and things like that, the need for you to have to like manage a lot of those leads is going to go down as well because we'll have a certain component that brings them up about 60-70% of the sales cycle for the SMBs, right? You'll be able to set it up where they're able to get straight to the almost like the close of their leads, right? So it gives you even bigger of a competitive advantage that you never had before, right? So hopefully that helps, Rich. Any follow up to that, buddy? Those are good questions, by the way.
Yeah, I would just want to explore some, I want to model someone that has a great onboarding, and if you could point people out. I worked with what was their names? This agency hackers. Um, they definitely
I
had
don't
it
know.
going
I
on
I
there.
got it. Yeah, I almost don't even know who's who with all the different names and ecosystems there are around high level now, to be honest.
Yeah.
But here's what I would do. You're the expert of your industry, right?
Hmm.
Right? Talk to one business owner and just have one conversation and say, hey, man, I'm working on a project. I would love your opinion on it. I don't even want to sell you on anything. Here's what I have. Do you think this would help our business, these businesses? Do you think this would make sense? Based on that, right? Is going to be how your onboarding is actually not that extensive. There's only like 2-3 things that you can essentially do. One is changing the messaging on your marketing campaigns, right? So when you set up your SMS, your email, that messaging, right? You can build out a template that makes sense for your industry. The other is the web chat, right? If the web chat could be installed into their standard, Website, great. That's it, right? But if they don't have a website, then I would decide, hey, let me just pre-build a website or even a funnel, right? That makes sense for that industry, right? Outside of that, I mean, how much marketing expertise is there? They just need somebody that can put together text message, email, voice drops, manual calling all in one place. That's what they were missing this whole time,
That's
right?
it. Simple.
It's
Yep.
it's simple. So I like the idea of minimum viable product, right? I want to go in, do the least amount possible for the best margin. That's how I look at business, right? What is the least amount that I can make sense, is reasonable, is ethical, and I'm not charging an arm and a leg, and I can do this at volume. That's what I look at, right?
Paulson, thank you. Thank you. I'll let you get to everyone else here. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Um, Adrian Castro. Let's go through your questions,
Uh,
please.
hey, Paul,
Yes, sir.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Anyway, I've been seeing a lot of ads for agencies and all that stuff, and they all look the same as far as the dashboard's concerned, and all their marketing is concerned. In fact, most people have cloned the Go High Level front page and just changed some stuff in there. Is there a way to just at least have them color schemes and a way to like customize the dashboard for clients? I think there should be a way. I haven't explored it too much, but what I'm saying is just almost everybody looks like Go High Level up front.
Yeah. And the reality is, honestly, don't try to differentiate yourself because you're the one holding the hammer. Somebody else is going to have a bigger hammer or the same hammer. But the expertise has to come from you knowing where to hit the hammer, right? Like at some point, everybody's going to know what high level is, right? Today, when you look at Facebook ads and Google ads, does Facebook and Google change up the way their dashboard looks because so many different businesses are using it? And we still run business, right? So to me, I'm interested to see how the white labeling side plays out. I think if you do the white labeling side, you need to just provide more than just aesthetically nice design dashboards. You've got to actually provide real marketing differentiations. You've got to provide some sort of campaign, something that's different to your industry versus just labeling. You cannot get away with just relabeling anymore, right? So to your point, Adrian, yeah, I mean, there's plenty of ways you can custom CSs and change things up. And I'm sure at some point we'll have more features added to it to have different themes and all of that. But at the end of the day, the core alignment is it's not going to be that far off, right? It's not going to be that far off. Any follow up to that, Adrian?
No, that makes sense a lot.
Okay, awesome. I mean, that's the cards we're playing, right?
Right.
Devin Busey. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good, buddy. Hey.
Good. Yeah, so actually, I mean, you've touched base a couple times on restaurants, or just kind of briefly mentioned it. I'm actually pretty much new to the game. I've been, pretty blessed to have a business partner that's been in IT for the last 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So that's always a plus. And I'm familiar with, a little bit of website design, HTML, a little bit of CSS. But one of the biggest things with the restaurant industry that I've seen is there's nobody doing, text messages. They're not doing, some people call them VIP clubs, and that's in essence what we do for the restaurants, basically run their VIP clubs. And it's still very hands off. Like once you set the text messages up, you can just, roll different text messages, every single month. So you're only doing so many messages per month. So, it could be 2 to 4 depending on, or do it based on the amount of messages that you send out. And then of course you can do graphic design and add some more things to it. But would you say that's going too much? Cause I know I could do reputation. I know I could do all this other stuff on the side, but like if I focused on one core feature, which would be the text messaging, which they simply don't have, and they might need email eventually. And I'm also a journalism major, so I can also write, the emails and all that good stuff too for them. And that could be additional service. So now I'm doing the essay, doing the SaaS, and then now I'm doing the services on the side, and they could still be sending so many text messages per month.
Yeah. So let me share. I think you have a valid question, right? Is Paulson, I care about the quality of my clients. I want to make sure I'm over delivering and they're getting something that they feel comfortable with, right? Here's the reality. The reality is the client looks at you as a marketer and looks at me as a marketer. That's reality. They don't know how to differentiate, right? They look at everybody else in this room as a marketer as well. They don't know how to differentiate, right? If you ask me to hire an IT guy, guess what? I'm going to Google the closest IT guy to me who's got the cheapest prices. I'm probably going to just get that guy. That's literally how I would go about it, right? So therefore, minimum viable product still wins in my books because you're not charging $10,000, right? You're not charging $10,000 and saying, hey, here's all the things that I can do for you, right? It's not that. It's actually going the opposite route and saying, what is the most minimalistic product that I can give you for what you just need as a business, right? What do you just need, right? And one of the things, so I shared a slide with you guys that Mike Cooch shared, I think in his ecosystem, or I don't know, his business, right? One of the things that I learned from Mike about 3-4 years ago is to a client, right? 30% of what we would give them is more than likely 100% of what they're imagining, right? Because guess what? They don't live in the technology world. They don't live in the marketing world. So a client hires me for a new business. They're like, you know what? Paulson has some sort of a tool, some sort of a thing. He's going to bring me new business. I don't care how it happened. I don't care if he stood a guy out on the middle of the traffic light signal holding up a sign that says go to www.xyzdentist.com versus me setting up a complex funnel, going after a bunch of competition in 5 different platforms. All they see is, okay, my phone rings. My phone doesn't ring or my phone rings. That's the only thing they know, right? So it kind of doesn't matter. And actually, I think it's disadvantageous if you over deliver too many things because you're just creating that kind of a stress on your onboarding as well as management, right? Your ongoing maintenance, your ongoing management, you don't want to overcomplicate it, right? You don't, right? I want the least amount of support tickets. I want the least amount of bugs. I just want to keep it. If I can go down to just 2 tools, that's what I would do. I know I can't get away with just one because I automatically will turn into a toolbox, right? I don't want to be a toolkit in a toolbox. I still want them to feel as if they're not just buying reputation management on reviews. I want them to perceive me as the marketing technology guy, right?
Yeah.
And so,
yeah, another thing I was looking at was setting up online ordering. So like it'd be like text messaging and online ordering. So those would be like 2 key features because if they don't have a way to do online ordering, well then now, that that's like almost a need right now, especially with COVID and doing takeout all the time. People want to be able to order online.
Right. With SaaS, there's going to be always a need for a new feature, a new something. Doesn't mean you have to be the one providing it, right? There's not a end to how many features you can build and how many systems and how vast of a system you can build with SaaS. You just want to go minimum viable product. So restaurants, I know for sure they have a reputation problem. Okay, my ratings matter to me, right? My GMB setup matters to me. My coupon, retrieval matters to me. My ManyChat integrations matter to me. So you got to figure out your prescription, right? But that doesn't mean you create the best prescription ever. and have the patient like take every possible drug for that disease, right? It doesn't. It is what is minimum that they need today. It's just going to be just getting on one antibiotics. No doctor comes in and says, hey, all the 20 antibiotics that I can prescribe this patient, I'm going to try it all out at once. No doctor does that, right? They will come in and decide minimum need for this patient. That's care management, right? That's managed care essentially. And you have to look at it that way. What is the least amount that you can bring to the table with the most impact, with the least amount of the lowest price point, and have stickiness. If you go higher than $500-600, I mean, restaurants, Devon, I mean, they pay $500 for all-in-one marketing. They don't pay more than that. Like, unless you hit fine dining or a franchise of some kind, they're already low ticket spenders on marketing, right? So it doesn't make a difference if you build out 50 different things in your $100 package. You can still make the same amount of money with just 3 different services. So make it easier on yourself and your own operations and fulfillment, in my opinion, right? And have the biggest impact, though. Let's see. Let me go to Patrick Zaraka.
There we go.
There you go, buddy.
Hey, Paul. Quick question for you. I'm interested in the white label, but I don't have it right now. So my scenario will be a mid-sized company that's private equity looking at small acquisitions, and they have about 50 sales reps. So would you, and interested obviously at the text messaging and at email follow-up. So lead gen nurturing is highly desired, and so that they can track their performance for each sales rep as far as what the revenue, ROI, etc. So how would you, with the white label is what I need to look at, or how would you set it up if it was just the pro version of the program?
So here, help me understand the question properly so I answer this. What you're going after, Patrick, is acquisition businesses. They're private equities. They have a sales team. They're going after all kinds of different interests, niches. They're going in like, I don't know, 5-10 million, whatever, XYZ EBITDA, and they're just trying to figure out who's an acquirable client, set it up with the broker, and get those deals flowing, right?
They already have the niche, actually, only one niche. It would be the insurance business niche.
Okay. So from a marketing perspective, what do you normally provide them right now?
From a marketing point of view, it's the really scripting and the calendar setup. So that's what we do. We set them up and bring them to the table to talk.
Okay, so you're not a standard ad agency, is that right?
No.
Okay, you're a small business owner of some kind, and you're providing marketing expertise, right?
Correct.
Okay, but you know that industry well enough to decide, hey, these are my messages. This is what makes sense, right? Yeah. What I would do if I were you is probably layer on maybe one more item, so I don't have to compete with ad agencies, right? I would add one more item that says, you know what, I'm going to set up a chat system on their website, or I'm going to add a niche specific funnel of some kind, and then scale it from there at lower tickets. So instead of saying it's a licensing deal, instead of saying coming in and just doing like $2,000 a month, you can just say, hey, it'll be $50 per rep, right? It'll be $60 per rep. And that's the way I would sell if I'm in your position with that scenario that you listed.
Okay.
Right. And the insurance world, by the way, insurance world, they function off of agent quoting. They don't function off of brokerage that often.
In fairness to you, let me give you a little bit more questions so that way you know exactly where we're going with this. So the acquisition is agencies, not agent selling. So it's very hard to identify the value for each salesperson, other than an acquisition could be $1 million, could be a $10 million, could be a $50 million acquisition premium. So the
Right.
value that I'm trying to sell is their biggest problem is they can't track what comes in and what are they losing the opportunities, and opportunity loss is what I'm trying to position.
Right. So to me, that may not even be a SaaS play. That may not even be a SaaS play. That's your standard ad agency play or a sales agency play where you're coming in and saying, hey, I'll reorganize your sales department altogether, right?
Yeah.
The thing with SaaS is like, you've got to be able to step away from SaaS. Otherwise, it's managed services all by itself, right? You've got to be able to set it up and walk away. And that's where SaaS matters versus you using SaaS for managed services, right?
Correct.
So what I'm saying is like those, I understand what you're doing, Patrick. You're going in and buying a book of business, right? Right? Your sales teams, right, is where SaaS would matter. If you went after a brokerage and said, you know what, I can manage 100 of your sales reps, and then you can go in and do the SaaS play. But in your case, I don't think it's more about you taking on a whole brokerage at the same time and just providing essentially sales organization services.
It's perfect. Thank you, Paul. Really appreciate it, sir.
Yep. No worries. Let me see. I've got one more message here. Sean is messaging me asking me how did it go. I'm about to tell him we're not done yet. So I'm going to cut off in a little bit here. I'll take on a couple of more questions here. Let's see. Landon?
Yes.
You there? Okay, cool. Let's go with your question. And if anybody else has anything, just raise your hand and I'll stay on. I'll stay on till 4:15 as long as Zoom doesn't cut me off. I think Zoom has like a 2-hour, 10-minute cutoff. So in case if it cuts it off, I'll see you on the next webinar. In case not, I'll stay until about 4:15. Okay, guys. Landon, go ahead, buddy. What you have going on?
So I just have a quick question about how like the setup is as far as adding them as a sub account. So I have an actual agency and I use it as the main account for Go High Level. And when you say like we add on these new clients or whatever, are we adding them as a sub account or are we adding them as a contact under our sub account?
You're adding them as a new sub account.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yep.
Yeah,
and you're charging them for them being able to use a sub account that you set up as a marketing technology provider based on your expertise to that industry.
Under their business name.
Under their business name, correct. And your differentiation is going to be based on the quality of what you set up from a marketing psychology perspective, right? So hopefully does that help answer that?
It does. Thank you.
Awesome, buddy. Yeah. Let's go to Justin Pena, and then we'll go back to Mike Schmidt. Justin, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, how's it going, Paulson?
Pretty good, man.
Appreciate you doing this. Definitely very helpful.
Yeah.
Voices and make it simplified, break it out, break out the management fee and the everything down. But my question is about, so I'm in the health and wellness niche, and you were talking before about how each niche has their own sort of leaders in the industry. And for the health and wellness industry, it's mind, body, and like acuity scheduling. And I was wondering, is like the play to try to replace these other, if our clients and prospective clients are already paying for that, are we just adding high level on?
Yeah. So good point. So those platforms, acuity scheduling, right? Those are all operational softwares, right? In the dental world, we have the same thing, like
point of sale.
Yeah, Dental Intelligence, Open Dental, EagleSoft. These are all great platforms, but none of them are marketing platforms. They're not marketing CRMs, right? They're different. They solve one of the other problems, right, within the operations of that business. It's like trying to replace QuickBooks, right? You can't really replace QuickBooks because they use that for their financial management, right? Can we do financial management in high level? Technically, we could. We can set up a bunch of
Mindbody does do some like marketing, just not as well as high level. It doesn't do two-way text. It'll do one-way text. It'll do email campaigns, reputation management.
Correct. Yeah.
So a lot of like our clients right now, they're having us try to integrate high level with their MindBody accounts, or
Right.
prospective clients are a bit wary about paying our $1,000 fee when they're already paying MindBody, $500 a month.
Right. So you already know. So that's a perfect example. You already know your client is already spending $500 a month for SaaS.
Right. Yeah. Anywhere from 130 to 600 a month, depending on the package that they sign up for.
Correct. And that's the pivot that we're talking about. You have to we think you can capture that market even much easier than the ad agency market as a high level expert, right? Now, can MindBody do a bunch of different things? I'm sure it does. I've personally have never used it, even if it did match against each other. Let's say there's another existing software that matches perfectly with everything that high level does, which I don't think it even exists yet, right? Even then, right? You as the expert still have to sell yourself versus just selling a hammer. One hammer versus another, I don't know. I'd rather go with the right contractor to get my stuff done for the house. Right? So that's where the marketing agencies come in. I think that expertise is going to be built out based on what you know about that industry more than anybody else, right? So yeah, it's not the same thing as management software systems. It's not the same thing as sales CRM. This is, essentially the first ever marketing CRM that has everything in it for marketing, right? You're able to now take this operation system and say, you know what, for my clients, these are the 3 things that I need, and they can crush it with these 3 things.
Got it. Yeah. So just definitely positioning
you got to figure that out
more
for your specific industry in the wellness space, but correct. Yeah. You got to position yourself as a technology provider, right, than a standard ad agency. So your messaging will be different, right? Your messaging is going to say, hey, no need to worry about marketing anymore. We'll show you how to self-manage half of these things for $300. Oh, cool. You don't even have traffic. Well, that's a different problem. You need more traffic. Well, we can run your traffic for you, but at the end of the day, your core foundation is going to be your CRM, right? And that's your angle that you gotta. That's the angle you gotta roll, because that's a very friendly angle for churn, right?
Yes. I can definitely see that.
The book of business is gonna grow. Imagine your agency if you never lost a client. That's what I keep telling everybody, right? That's literally what you can do with the SaaS option. And it's much better than affiliate option, in my opinion. The problem with affiliate is you're creating another SaaS provider now that's going to compete with you, right? So it's in the same industry,
right?
But
so I want to win that Tesla, though.
You could win the Tesla. You could win the Tesla, but this is a different play than that, right? And also, Justin, since we're on it, do you want to talk about our interaction that we had maybe like a week ago, like about how simplified your marketing could be?
Oh, yeah, it's like night and day, like so much easier to manage. I just changed, this long email campaign with text messaging and voicemail drops and manual calls to just 3 simple text messages that just go out, one 10 minutes after another, which just looks like a genuine text conversation. It's the response rates have just shot up to like 70-80%. The one thing that I made a mistake on was I didn't set a time window, so we were sending out the text at like 3 a.m. so it didn't quite make sense.
I don't set it up either. I want them to get blasted if they're going to blast my business at 3 a.m. I'm okay with them opting in at 3 a.m. and getting a message at 3 a.m. Well, you submitted something to my business at 3 a.m. is my argument.
I like that. I like that perspective. Yeah, some clients were like, "Why are we sending them texts at 1 a.m., 3 a.m.?" And I said I would change it for them and set a window, but I think I'll go back and tell them.
There's obviously there's a professionalism there, right? I get it, but I tread lightly on it, man. So Justin had reached out to me like 2 weeks ago, and he's like, "Hey, man, look at my follow-up automations for my clients. I'm not getting a lot of engagement and conversion." And he was looking at it as like a technology person, right? It was like a lot of custom values, like a 5-step thing. And I'm like, yo, like, Justin, I don't get text messages like that. My wife would never text me like that. My uncles, my cousins, my brothers, like nobody would text me like the way you have these messages set up. So let's go back to the basics. So like the messages was like, "Hey, first name question mark." That's it. That impersonates a regular text message. The second one, "Hey, what was it? It was like, "Hey, saw that you submitted some form." And it was like sent from iPhone at the bottom, right? It's like it just like simplifying these things down. Some of you take high level and really go complex and super complicate this thing. I want you guys to think in simpler terms. But Justin, thanks for the feedback, buddy.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Let's see, Micah, let's go back to you, and then we'll go with Robert Villegas, and I'm gonna call it a day. I'm kind of hungry now. I'm about to go eat some food, have a good rest of my afternoon. So let's go with Micah and Robert, and we'll call it a day after that. Micah, go ahead, buddy.
Hey, mine's fast. Any talks on adding more sales decks for the sales resource option? Because the sales decks for, I think it was like 2018 sales decks, kind of just the basic one. I used that for a client. Didn't work out, but the point was that was a huge confidence booster to be able to take that material and just work it with prospects.
I'm super happy to build something out for you guys. I'll work on it this upcoming week or the following week and build something out and put it on the help desk, okay? If you don't know where the help desk is, it is help.gohighlevel.com, and you'll be able to get case studies and demo decks and all of that are already white labeled. And I put that in the chat. Let's go with Robert. Robert, what's your question?
Hey, how's it going, Paulson?
Hey, buddy.
So I got introduced to High Level about a month ago, and
Oh man, you're fresh.
I'm fresh, but we've been a digital advertising agency for 7 years.
Okay.
And so our whole business model is obviously advertising through Facebook and Google ads.
Okay.
Now once I was introduced to High Level, it really opened my eyes into certain parts in regards to we're delivering the leads, but what happens, like most businesses, those leads fall through the cracks. They're not being followed up with. The calls are getting too long to be answered. And so I saw the opportunity for High Level to help the customer convert those leads into customers and allowing them to stay longer with us.
Okay.
So my brain been working and actually saying, okay, I actually had this idea of what you're speaking about the SaaS opportunity, and maybe kind of rebranding ourselves as the platform of not just advertising, but helping you also convert those leads. So kind of like a lead management and conversion specialist. So with that being said, I believe I'm planning to rebrand my website where we lead with the SaaS, and then at the bottom section of our website, we'll kind of be saying, oh, do you need help getting more leads? And then introducing our advertising services. So our main goal is really kind of to promote saying, hey, let us, with your current marketing budget, let's go ahead and convert more leads using our system. And if you don't have enough leads coming in, then let us help you advertise and generate more leads. Is that a good approach?
Well, the thing with the way, so this is a business development question, right? What should my brand positioning be? Is that right, Robert?
That's correct.
Right. So the problem with me coming in and saying, hey, I'm an advertising agency and now I have a SaaS offer, right? I have a software thing. I just replaced any other trick in the trade, right? I'm just replacing Facebook ads or Google ads or something else, right? That's the problem with that. So from a positioning perspective, I don't come off as a technology provider. I come off as another ad agency that knows a new trick. And I don't like that. I don't like that because guess what? I'm going to have to now operate like an ad agency pretty soon. Some way, somehow, they're going to have expectations around that. So I like the idea of coming into the picture and saying, hey, you know what? I'm a technology provider, and here's how we have technology built out around your marketing problems, right? So I would come in as a provider of technology versus coming in as an ad agency and saying, hey, I can get you new leads or I can generate new things. It's like the one trick pony example I shared a couple of months ago. You're just exchanging your trick with the new trick, right? It's not competitive, in my opinion.
Right, and that's where, for example, our branding is we are going leading as the technology platform first. And what I'm saying, so, we're addressing those things that we have seen with our clients that they have issues, which high level addresses. And so we're leading with that technology and then ending with, if you need to generate more leads, then we can also help you with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So essentially, managed agency services become an add-on to your foundational offer, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and that's the way you got to look at it because those add-on managed services have high churn, right? It's not something I would depend on anymore as an ad agency. You can depend on the low churn offers, which is software driven. So I feel like I'm not answering your question, Robert. Help me unpack your question.
Okay, I guess what I'm saying here is, am I heading in the right direction with our agency, as in leading with the SaaS platform first, and then upselling our advertising services second?
Yeah, you don't have to look at it as you're leading with it because it could be a downsell even when they're exiting. Let's say you lead with Facebook ads, right? Let's say you lead with Facebook ads. And if they decide, you know what, for some reason, I want to walk away, you should be able to downsell then, right? So you don't necessarily have to lead with it. It's better to lead with it. I'll tell you that. It's much better to lead with it because you're positioning yourself as a technology expert versus Facebook ads guy, right? It's then you have to resell them on, oh, here's a technology I used, you should keep this for yourself. You're actually entering them into a secondary sales cycle versus, like you're saying, if you lead with it, you actually have the same sales cycle. Right. So my recommendation is to lead with SaaS if you can, but you're not going to be able to just shift off all in one day and just go, let me cut off my services, which is why I say don't reinvent the wheel. Take a slow transition into, moving some of your clients over as a SaaS customer, SaaS client, essentially. Hopefully that helps. But I recommend you leading in the ideal world with SaaS, right? Today's world, you're not going to be able to just lead with SaaS. You still have to lead with Facebook ads and everything else, and slowly transition into the SaaS side. Unless you're brand new and you're just getting ready to go right in for the first time, then you can probably lead with SaaS if you have enough industry experience. If odds are your prescription is not going to be accurate that well, like your marketing prescription has to be pretty good for this to work.
Right. So I'm a big sales guy like yourself. So I like to stay with the technology. I like to just make the sale and just hand it off to someone else and let them onboard and move forward.
Yep.
So coming from a sales perspective, what would be, because you always talk about we want to be a technology provider. How would you sell that to other businesses without using the actual term technology provider? Because then they're going to say, what does that mean? Right. So
your language has to be marketing oriented. You cannot, it's marketing technology, therefore it's going to be marketing conversations.
Okay.
So otherwise, if you just go with technology by itself, they're gonna just compare you to the other tools in the box, right? There, it's like, oh, I've got a guy who does reviews. I've got another tool that can do one-way text. How are you different, right? Or I've got a tool, I've got my own account where I can build my own funnel, right? So you've got to sell yourself as a marketing provider still, in my opinion. But when it comes to delivery is where you make the slight change to make life a whole lot easier for yourself. The messaging is going to be closer to the ad agencies. It's going to be closer to you coming in as a marketing provider.
Right. So how are you selling yourself on these type of services so you can be a tech provider in this case? Because I'm just kind of having trouble to wrap my brain around what is the best way. So when I'm talking to someone, I don't confuse them. I want to keep it simple as possible, but to understand that I am different.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be industry specific, right? What industry are you focused on more than anything else if you are
Home
niche down?
improvement.
Home improvement, right? So like remodeling or what exactly?
Yes, remodeling, mainly home remodeling. With a lot of our clients, we do a lot of Facebook advertising, Google ads for like, you know, kitchen design, bathroom remodeling, you know, flooring, stuff like that.
Right. So today, do they spend money on SaaS?
No. From what we have seen, very little.
Very
So-
little, or do they is either black or white, right? If they spend $100, they spend $100, right?
Yeah, they do spend. I mean,
Okay. Do you know what the solutions that they get from those, or is that too early?
it's mainly from what I see, a lot of it has to do with the invoicing part,
Okay.
software. They spend about some in regards to communication with their crew that's all in the field. But they don't have anything where they can keep all that communication in one place, or from what I'm seeing, you know, anything to help them keep their sales pipelines organized. They're using a lot of spreadsheets. And so we're looking that we can come in and present a platform that will improve, you know, their communication with their prospects, schedule more appointments, and basically create a better customer experience.
Right. So the angle has to be, this is what I think would work, right? And you have to test this out in your specific industry, things of that nature, right? Instead of you saying, hey, small business owner, do you want to buy Facebook ads, right? I can generate you new leads, right? Instead of doing that, you have to be able to come in and say, hey, can we help manage all your lead flow without charging you anything for it outside of our small fee, right? Can we help you get free leads? Right? You can set up a funnel, you can set up some sort of a web chat system, right? And capture their existing leads, right? This is an easy way to get your foot in the door, even if you want to upsell them for Facebook ads or Google ads. Hey, just to prove our system, we like to come in and just close 5 deals for you. Only caveat, you've got to have a database of some kind with at least 2,000 people. If you have that, we can come in and close 5 deals for you. Can we earn your trust that way? Right? Our initial program is going to cost you $200 a month. Right? Your foot in the door becomes SaaS. Their point of entry is only $200, and you're giving them immediate ROI. Right? You're giving them immediate ROI versus you coming in and saying, hey, business owner, I'll sell you $1,500 worth of Facebook ads. Give me 3 months. I'll show you ROI.
Makes sense.
So this is how I would go about it. Here's another angle, right? Same thing. Can I generate you 50 leads this upcoming month, right? Instead of that, I want to come in and say, hey, can I help you manage your entire marketing in one place without you having to, like, you're not even ready for an ad agency is how I would look at it, right? You're not even ready for an ad agency. I want to come in and just build and centralize your entire marketing and sales activities in one place first, right? How much is that going to cost you? Not much, right? It's going to cost you $100. And it's essentially like, instead of you doing a new demo to go sell them on Facebook ads, you can literally get your foot in the door with DBRs, database reactivations, text marketing, or a funnel setup of some kind. If they have high traffic, right? Let's say you're going after e-commerce and they have a ton of traffic already. Imagine if you set up a web chat system and throw all those leads into high level, right? They don't even, if they already have existing traffic, this becomes that much easier, right? But hopefully that helps, Robert.
Yeah, it does.
And I don't, here's the thing, I don't have expertise in every industry to tell you this is the angle that's going to work, but I want to show you at least the fundamental, the business development thought process behind it, right?
Right, and that's what I was looking for, some clarity on that, and you definitely help with that, so I appreciate it.
Okay, awesome, guys. Hey, it's time for me to go grab a burger or pizza or something before the day is over. I'm hungry. You guys have a good rest of your Monday. I appreciate you guys being all on here. Hopefully this was helpful. We'll have a replay and all of that set up in the YouTube channel. There was a ton of questions in the Facebook group. I'll go over that after lunch, but have a good rest of your afternoon, guys. Have a good one.